What is going on, guys, and welcome back to yet again another video. If you've seen the previous episode on the Miata, you know that I have plans to turbo the car. I thought in today's video I can go over what I've done to the car so far and what I plan to do to get this car prepped for the turbo. If you guys didn't already know, having a completely stock car and throwing a turbo on it, although it might be pretty fun, it's not the best idea. You want to get the car prepped as good as you can to properly take advantage of that power. And in today's video, I'm going to go over everything I'm doing to get my car prepped to turbo. Everything I've done so far is actually in the engine bay. I think you guys are going to like what I did under there. And bam, there we go. I'll pop up a clip from the first episode where I showed you guys what the engine bay looked like, and it was the most disgusting thing I have seen to date. So dusty, so dirty. So looking at this engine bay now, it looks 100% completely different, and I'm so happy with the results. Obviously, probably the biggest thing you guys are noticing right now is the fact that I painted the valve cover, but obviously I took the opportunity when I took the valve cover off to paint. I replaced the valve cover gasket because it was actually leaking right back there, and also in spark plug number 2, right in the well, it was leaking there as well. So perfect opportunity to get that done. And while I was there, it's super cheap to do. I did spark plugs and an oil change. Now, here's what I'm doing to get the Miata prepped to turbo. I want this thing to have a super solid base, and I want to know everything about this car before I add on a turbo. Now, once you're confident that your engine is in good working order, you freshen things up, you got new spark plugs maybe, valve cover gasket, make sure all your fluid levels are good to go. Obviously, prepping the engine is the most important, but arguably a little bit more fun of modifications to do would be the outside of the car and handling characteristics, because obviously with adding power, you want your car to be able to literally handle it. Now, number one, and arguably the most important, when increasing the power, I need to be able to handle it grip-wise. So tires are number one on the list for modifications I need. And luckily, I already got a set. Now, if you want to increase the grip of your car, you want to get some wider wheels and wider tires. And that's exactly what I did with these guys right here, sent out by Kumho. Let's check these out. Now, these bad boys right here are Kumho tires V730s. These guys are a 225, 45, 15. I'm going from a 215 on the Miata right now, increasing the width to a 225. It's gonna give me that grip that I'm desiring. And also, this is a much stickier tire than the tires that are on the Miata right now. These guys have a 200 tread wear, an AA traction rating, and an A temperature rating. Tires won't last as long, but that is obviously not my main priority. With a softer rubber like this guy here, it's going to give me that increased grip that I'm wanting and going to be able to handle the power that I'm throwing at the car. Now, unfortunately, I'm just waiting on a bunch of parts, which I'll get into and what I ordered, but the only other part that came in, which of course will help with performance and get me prepped to turbo the car, is I got some steel braided brake lines, front and rear. Essentially, what that's going to do is rubber lines under high pressure could theoretically expand under stressful situations, obviously like increasing the power and having to use those brakes more. Obviously, you know, when I'm flying into a corner at 100 miles an hour in the Miata, I want to be able to trust the brakes, and simple upgrade like this is always good to do. Now, another huge modification, obviously to increase the handling of this car, is suspension. I got coilovers on order. It's been like 2 weeks, unfortunately. That's kind of why the Miata content has been on the back burner, but suspension is a huge modification that's going to really, really help this car. From the factory, the Miata is lifted. I don't know, who thought that was a good idea, but that does not pass the test whatsoever. That's one of the other big modifications I definitely recommend doing in order to prep your car, get it ready to go. If you got a lot of power going into a corner, you need modifications that are going to help out, and coilovers are definitely one of them. Now, depending on how much you plan on pushing your car with this turbo, it would not be fair for me to not cover the fact that increasing the power is putting a lot of stress on the car's stock drivetrain, like transmission and clutch in particular. Now, for example, I knew I was increasing the power on my WX right here, which, obviously comes turbo. So with that, I changed from a 5-speed to a 6-speed, which can handle a lot more power. And also I upgraded the clutch because a stock clutch would most likely be slipping at the power level that it's currently running. So I obviously already thought it out, and this Miata in particular does have the 5-speed. I've heard the 5-speed obviously is not as strong as the 6-speed. I'm pretty used to that already, but I did my research, did my due diligence to see how much the stock drivetrain can handle, and for the power level that I want, with most likely the Flying Miata turbo kit that I'm going to do, I think a stock clutch will be fine, and the transmission should hold up the power that I want. But in the future, definitely something I'm looking into would be getting a better clutch and swapping over to the 6-speed to handle a little bit more power. Other things to note that I probably should have mentioned maybe in the beginning is upgrading cooling stuff. I'm most likely going to get maybe like a Koyo Rad radiator because, you know, just like with anything, increasing power puts stress on pretty much every aspect of the car. And the cooling system, I believe, is a weak point in the Miata. So I definitely will be upgrading the radiator, because I'm sure some people are gonna comment on that. So yes, I will be doing that, and I do recommend you do that as well. Other things to note would be stuff like injectors, which I don't think I will be doing right away, but depending on the power level that you want for your build, you may need to look into getting aftermarket injectors if they make it for your car. I believe they do make injectors for Miatas, but like I said, the power level that I want to start out at, I believe the stock injectors will be good for me. Now, we covered some good stuff in the engine bay, getting it prepped, getting a good base. We covered some stuff on the outside that you'll see, like tires, brakes, suspension, but another, you know, pretty cool modification and very, very good to have, especially with tuning, is an AFR gauge. Luckily, this thing is open. What I'm gonna be doing in this Miata is I think I'm gonna be replacing this guy right here. I think I'm gonna put my AFR gauge right there. It's very important when turbocharging a car that you know what your AFRs are. Just like in the WRX, I have the AFR gauge set up to where I can see it. It's perfect. It's getting logged as I'm driving, which is this guy right there. So I'll probably be getting the same exact one for the Miata, the AEM Yugo, very high quality. You know, it definitely is a little bit pricey, but definitely a must have when turbocharging your car is a very good AFR gauge. Now I think that's pretty much all those modifications that have stood out to me as I was just kind of walking around the car and what I'm doing to get the car prepped to turbo. Now, of course, I'm sure there's some things that I may have missed, but obviously I'm gonna be documenting the entire build on the channel and things will come up. Other modifications that I might need will come up. So stay tuned for all those modifications because turboing a non-turbo car is very new to me. I think I have a pretty good idea. I'm pretty used to turboed cars, pretty used to working on engines. The Miata seems to be pretty easy. I'm very excited to get into it and I hope you guys are as well. Now I know it's been a while since I've been active on YouTube. I will admit it. There's been a lot of stuff in the works, me waiting on parts, like suspension for 2 weeks for the Miata. And I also went to SubiFest, which was pretty cool. You guys probably watched the SubiFest video. It should go live before this one. But yeah, the car made it down to SubiFest and back. We actually took second place if you didn't watch the SubiFest video, which is pretty epic. My boy David won first. Shout out to the boy David, but I am coming for you in 2022. But yeah, I don't know. It's been so long since I've been active on YouTube, but hopefully that will change soon. I plan to be very active on YouTube. I know this kind of style of video may be a little bit different. It's been so long since I made a YouTube video that I wasn't even really comfortable like vlogging, but I'll be honest, like halfway through this video, I kind of feel like I got my stride back. And also I feel like it's easier, like maybe when the boys are over, to like have conversation in videos to make it like flow better. But hopefully you guys are enjoying this kind of style, a little bit higher quality. Get the tripod out, get the mic out if the audio quality sounds a little bit better. Hopefully that's why I'm all mic'd up. I'm kind of liking this style, but I also want you guys to kind of recommend video ideas for me, more maybe Subaru content, what you guys would like to see with the Miata. I want to get very active with the community on YouTube because going to SubiFest and all those Subaru people were just telling me to post more on YouTube, and that's definitely where I started, is YouTube. So I want to get back into it heavy. Give me video ideas, give me whatever you want. You could DM me on Instagram or whatever, but I'm gonna get super active in the comments on this video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. As always, I'm gonna catch you on the next one. Peace out.